My free zone success story today is Justin Jones-Fosu. And Justin comes from Charlotte, North Carolina. And, he grew up in Michigan. You can tell a Michiganer. My Babs is from Michigan. And Michigan people are no BS people. You can't BS somebody from Michigan. They're very good. And he's very impressive. Justin's very impressive. He just is in coach for about a year, and he's got an incredibly um, deep and different kind of background, all the different things he's done in his life. And we hit it right off the bat because his first entrepreneurial job in life was mowing lawns, and so was mine. And his second entrepreneurial experience in life was delivering papers, and so was mine. So right off the bat, we had a common history. And that Justin's whole approach is to make work meaningful for everybody, regardless of what shape they come from, what size they come from, what they're attracted to, everything. That every human being who is involved in work should have an equal ability to have their voice heard, to have their uniqueness heard. And we believe in that 100%.
My name is Justin Jones-Fosu. Actually, go by Justin Peter Kofi Arabi Jones-Fosu, Senior. And I help enrich organizational and individual lives, I think, through around the topic of meaningful work and diversity and inclusion. And so for me, those are two items I work with my clients as well as professional individuals to help them to not necessarily try to find meaning in their work, but to bring meaning to their work. And making diversity and inclusion not an initiative, but more of an invite in the sense of something to truly engage, less of a mandate and more of a mindset. And so I try to make it an everyday experience. So my research focuses on how to help organizations and individuals to create a space where everyday diversity happens. So diversity, engaging in it happens in our everyday lives. And so that's what I do. So I'm a speaker, author, researcher, and just overall strategist to work with organizations and individuals. So that's a little of me. I remember going to Norwalk, Connecticut, and I was doing a leadership training conference for an organization. And, I went on my own dime. It was free, I wasn't getting paid anything. I stayed with my best friend in New York at the time, and I finished the workshop, and people at the end were like, "Oh my gosh, like this is one of the best workshops we've ever been to on leadership. Can you come to our organization?" And I was like, sure. But there was one young lady that I still wish I knew who she's like, "Hey, do you mind writing your prices in the back of your business card?" I'm like, "Prices? What are you talking about?" Because I was like, don't people just do this for free, right? But, I was a business major, so I knew I could work. I was like, "Hey, I'll work with you in your budget." But I had no concept of prices. And that's the day that I realized I was asking the wrong question all these years. Many years, I remember reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad in 2003, 2004, when it asked you, what would you do for free? And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm asking the wrong question. It's not what would I do for free? That implies a future tense. The real question is, what am I currently doing for free? Which implies a present tense. And I realized that I was doing it. And that was leadership training, development, and preparation. And so that day I went back to my friend's house in New York and I started the business. So March 24th, 2007 was that moment where I realized that's what I love to do and that my heart skipped a beat when I did it. I had a lot of crossroads. As I started speaking, I was doing an MBA program and I was part of their incubator program. I just been featured in Ebony magazine. I just won Student Entrepreneur of the Year. I was part of the incubator program. And I remember just asking, going to Student Life and saying, "Hey, you know what? I don't mind, and I'll come and I'll speak." I even use the magic words at a discount for, the new students that were coming in. And Susan Lucci told me no. And I was crushed. I was like, wait a minute, my old school where I'm in the incubator program, you all have big billboards of me in downtown Baltimore. And I just want all these things, right? I'm featured at all these things. And you all said no. So I was like, what's going to make anybody else believe in me? And I remember at that moment, I was like, there's going to be one or two things I'm going to do. I'm either going to cry about it or I'm going to do something. And so I cried for a little bit. And then I remember going downstairs and reaching back out to Susan and setting up an interview and asking the question with Susan and Anthony Butler. And I remember asking the question when I got to the interview and we got a chance just to sit down with them and asking them, what would have made you say yes? Like, what would have caused you to say yes? And it was like, well, accident, Justin, it's nothing against you. We just only bring in speakers from these certain agencies or we see them at these certain conferences. And I remember, writing down these conferences and agencies with the passion. And I was just like ferociously just writing them down. And I started to seek after them. And so that was a crossroads because that was probably the first time that I countered my dream and I was going to give that up. So that was a big crossroads in Glare. And I remember the second time that this happened was I was doing a leadership training conference for a Nova Sherm. And I remember had a great time, gave great content. And I remember after I got done, I used to do a plus delta. And I was like, yeah, all right, plus what went well, delta, what do I need to change or improve? And I had this guy, probably in his mid 40s, mid-level manager. And he was like, Justin, he was like, I loved your content. I thought it was very helpful and all the stuff that I could learn from. But he was like, what qualifies you to speak to me? And I remember, at that time, I led a team of 50 for Target and done all these things, had my MBA. But I remember at that time, I was like 27 years old. And I was just like, well, man, if he's willing to ask me that, how many other people are thinking this? And so it just really made me reshape the direction and trajectory. And so I had to ask myself kind of like unique ability and ask myself like, hey, what am I really strong at? What am I really passionate about? What qualifies me in a unique way to engage? And so I remember I was like, well, I know a place that's not a question is around student leadership. And so I was like, well, let me initially kind of transition from doing a lot of the corporate pieces until I build up a little bit more momentum, time, energy, life experience, and business experience. And so then I went and focused specifically on student development. And then probably about 6 years ago, transitioned back into corporate. And so, yeah, those are two big crossroads for me that I had to ask the question, like, am I cut out for this? Because those are really big moments where I questioned my business acumen, and would it ultimately succeed? It's my meaningful day. And I'm a really big believer. I mean, I talk about meaningful work. And so I created a meaningful day template. And it really asks four things. The four P's. It's perspective, people, personal, and professional. And so I go through on a little whiteboard and I go through and say perspective. What am I grateful for? Which is part of that woo-ah. The second thing is people, is who do I want to have meaningful connection with? Now, these last three pieces, people, personal, and professional, I put in there only 1 to 3 things each day. 1 to 3 things that if I did these things, that this would be a meaningful day to me. That this day I'd be able to bring meaning instead of just trying to see, what's today meaningful? No. I'm going to bring meaning today. And so I asked, what are 1 to 3 people that I want to engage in a deeper part of experience or relationship? So I do extravagant appreciation. And so is it writing a handwritten note? Is it doing an extravagant appreciation video for someone? And so that's the people part. The second part is the personal. It's like 1 to 3 things that I want to do for myself. For me, sometimes that's, reading, a devotional. It's something that is just focused on Justin. It could be hammocking, spending some time in a hammock, just reflecting, meditating, relaxing. And then the last is professional. And you don't have to have that order, but for me, it's like what are those 1 to 3 things that I want to accomplish within the day from a professional perspective that has lasting and meaningful impact. And so it's usually 1 to 3 things. I don't have to fill it up with 3. Sometimes I only have 1. Sometimes I have 2. But even if I just get 1 in each of the categories, I feel like it's been a meaningful day in all of the categories. So I strive to hit at least 1, and it's great if I get everything checked off, but at least 1, then it's been a meaningful day.